Hey guys, this is Emily and you're watching The Burrow. So I thought I would do a follow-up video to my last one about how I got a job in animation after I had finished school. So I was actually really lucky in that I didn't have to actually do that much job searching in order to get my first job. So at the end of the school year and my last year of the program, we had a open house type of thing where they had actually booked the school's pub where everyone can set up their artwork and their animation if you have like a laptop or something. We kind of have just like a little animation program fair where the industry professionals from around the province can come by and basically scout people and check out your work. Some people had pretty elaborate setups where they hung stuff up behind them, they had laptops playing their animation on loops, and they also had books and a bunch of stuff like that. For me, I just had one big book with my portfolio in it. So at the end of the year, my school puts out a student workbook, and basically I just reused that work in my portfolio because for the book there was like an approval process, and I kind of figured what the professors thought should go into the book would also be good enough to put into my portfolio. I also had a finished short film that I had done by hand, and that was being shown on the big TV in the pub with everyone else's films and some other sample animation, but I didn't have it with me at my table, but that didn't really seem to be a problem. Another thing I had that I think is pretty important is I also had copies of my pages from the program book printed out in color and bound together, and I had printed about 6 of those because they are a bit expensive to get done, but I wanted to hand them out to people coming from animation studios to scout people from the program. And I think having something that the industry professionals can take away is really important for them to actually remember you and be able to contact you after they've left. I also had business cards made up, which was kind of a pain because I don't use those business cards anymore, and you can't really get like a small number of business cards printed, and of course I only gave out like 20 at the event. But again, it's part of looking as professional as you can and giving people something to take away. So I also had a blog set up. At the time, everyone in the program was using Blogspot or Blogger. I think most artists now and students are using Tumblr. Whatever works, it doesn't have to be an expensive website or anything, but just having like an online presence somewhere is really important, whether it's on Tumblr or Facebook or somewhere that anyone can access as long as they just want to see your art. So something the professors really emphasized in my program was to make sure your name is on every single page of your portfolio. That included the end of the year book, my large portfolio I had on my table, and on the smaller booklets I had printed out to give out. That way that every time someone is looking through your portfolio, they see your name on every page and it'll help them remember it. You don't want to have your name just on the first page or the last page. They're never going to remember that. They also stressed having an email address that was professional and easy to remember that also included your name. So I just had my name at hotmail.com or whatever. Don't have it like banana potatoes at yahoo.ca or something, like no one's gonna be able to spell that. And also at this event I had dressed kind of like in a business outfit. I was wearing like a pinstripe, like office type of suit dress thing, and I had my hair up and stuff, and I would just recommend looking a little professional. Like, you don't even have to wear that type of clothing at a real animation studio, but just looking like you're putting the effort forward will make people notice you. I would also really recommend gearing your portfolio towards what you want a job in or what you think your strongest suit is. So my strongest suit is what's generally called pre-production in the industry, which is everything that's kind of done before the animation is started. It's like the character design, prop design, background design, color. One of my professors said that I had a really strong sense of color, so I made sure that I had lots of colored stuff in my portfolio. Animation, and especially computer animation, was not my strong suit. I am pretty okay at drawing animation by hand, but for some reason doing it on the computer just never jived with me, and it just wasn't something that I wanted to include in my portfolio. Some people who are really strong at animation included frames of animation in sequence in their portfolio, so just by like running your eyes across it, you could kind of see how they had animated that scene. Another thing I had to give away to industry professionals were copies of my film and my demo reel. So demo reel is something you probably want to make at the end of your program as well as a portfolio. So the demo reel was a DVD I had created just using the program that's on Macs, like iDVD or whatever, and it's really easy to just make a menu, and so I could create different categories for my film and my animation assignments and then like still images. At the time I also had a printer that could print labels right onto CDs, so I used the software that came with it to create a customized label with one of my best colored drawings on it and with my name, phone number, and email address on it as well, and I thought those are really eye-catching. Just putting like that little bit of effort forth to have a label on your disc is a little more professional looking than just having a blank kind of burned DVD that you've just written on with like a Sharpie or something. So right after that event, I wasn't super concerned about getting a job. I had just worked really hard in college, especially in my final year, and my mom had booked a trip for us to go away to Florida to Disney World. So I left like 2 days later after that event, and a few days into our trip, I was checking my email and I had received a job offer from the event. And it was from a local studio, and they asked me to come in for an interview. And I went in the day after I came back from my vacation, and you don't really need to dress up for animation interviews. I wore like a button-up shirt with like an okay pair of jeans and like black boots or something. Like, you don't have to wear like your full suit or whatever, but you can if you want to. To the interview, I brought in my big printed portfolio that I had on my table. Make sure you bring it with you, even if they don't end up looking at it, even if they just look at your blog or whatever, or if they already saw it at the like industry event. Bring something with you. It's super important. Bring your business cards with you again. And it was really good that I did, because I was also being interviewed by someone else who hadn't met me at the event before. And I should say, like, at the event, I was standing up at my table the whole time and like shaking people's hands and saying hi to them when they walk by, which is really hard for me. I'm not like a naturally social person, so I know it can be really hard and intimidating in that type of situation, but if you're going to connect with someone who can give you a job, that's the best way to do it. People are more likely to come over to your table, obviously, if you just say hi to them first. So anyway, they kind of just talked to me for a few minutes about what I had experienced in school and what I was hoping to do, and they flipped through my portfolio and they offered me a job on the spot, and they offered me a position as a character builder in Flash. And they actually had liked my portfolio so much that even though I didn't even know Flash, they wanted to hire me and train me on the job. So yeah, I guess it's a little bit unusual circumstance, but I worked really hard in school and I did my best every day, and I did my best at the industry event, and I just made sure all my ducks were in a row for that day, and I just got really lucky that that studio was hiring at that time. So it's really a combination of showing what you can do and being in the right place at the right time. And ever since then, I have never had to apply for a job. I've been working in the animation industry for about 6 or almost 7 years now, and since my contracts ended at my first studio, I've just been like recommended to jobs by other people I knew in the industry. Once you basically know people and they find out that they like working with you and they like your work, you won't really ever have to apply for jobs, which has been awesome. I've hardly ever had to update my resume or portfolio. So yeah, that's about it. And again, if you guys have any questions at all, if you would like to know how you could get a job in animation, just leave me a comment down below, or you can tweet at me or email me, and I'd be happy to help you as much as I can. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.
This is my first time tackling NaNoWriMo. I really wanted to make sure that everything I was doing during the month of November was focused on actually building out the book itself. So what does that mean exactly?